Maybe you're confused. Okay. You're very confused. And you're a raging Democrat. So raging leftist with that kind of questioning.
One of the worst side effects of having Donald Trump as president of the United States is that the peculiar way that he operates kind of infects everyone around him, especially Republican politicians. And some are worse than others. Nancy Mace is in the group that is worse than others. The other day, she's campaigning for governor of the state of South Carolina right now. The other day, she was out there doing a dual hit where she's campaigning for governor while also touting her record as a congresswoman, getting things done for South Carolinians. The only problem is she's using legislation and funding through legislation that she did not vote for. Not that she didn't vote for it, she voted no. She voted against it. It's just not like she didn't show up and didn't vote. She tried to have it not pass. And now that it has passed and the benefits are being realized by the people of South Carolina, she's acting as though it's on her. She took part in all of this wonder, all of this funding, all of this infrastructure, all of these projects that are benefiting you, great citizen, my constituent. I helped with this. And it's all a lie. And it's the new way of operating for Republicans. In a way, I mean, they've always been liars, but this way of doing things where you take credit for something that you put effort into trying to stop is really, really new in the manner that they do it, with the tempo that they do it, with the intensity that they show. It's new. And I ran across this tweet yesterday from Mehdi Hasan. You should follow him. Still a little questioning of all the people that are still on Twitter, but you know, they got to do them. He tweeted this: "Everyone please watch and share this." And then he lays out the steps that I want you to pay attention to when I play the clip of Nancy Mace. I have Stephen Moore on the brain because that's my next video. I want you to pay attention. First of all, the interview is like 7 minutes long, but I cut it down to about 3 or so just to give you a flavor for the conflict that ensued. But these are the steps. It's like the stages of grief, except it's for the stages of Trumpian moronicness. Everyone please watch and share this. 1, she lies about her record. 2, a reporter points out the lie. 3, she messes up her response. 4, then she goes on a rant. And finally, 5, she plays the victim and plays the misogyny card. Nancy Mace, folks. And he is absolutely right. He has identified the pattern in question here that I want to share with you. Brace yourself. Let me set this up first. She is talking about, again, the record, the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, and some of the benefits. She doesn't name it as that, but she's naming these projects that are being funded by the federal government for the state of South Carolina, and she's taking credit for them. And at the end, a reporter starts talking to her, mixing it up about different things, being very respectful, just asking questions, just pointing out some of the inconsistencies and asking, well, do you actually have responsibility for this? Can you actually be claiming credit for this when you voted against it? And Nancy Mace's answer is just, it makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe you should pick up a constitution. Maybe you should look at what Congress people do. Maybe you should see what my job is. It's my job. Your job's not to be an obstructionist, Nancy Mace. Your job's not to take credit for things that you tried to defeat, Nancy Mace. Your job, apparently, is to, transgenders are killing me. I shook someone's hand. Your job is to gallivant in convenience stores in your underwear while you're coming back for a vote. This is what you do. You are the embodiment of everything that is bad about our politics to a heightened degree. Here is this clip, and I want pay attention to the stages, not the stages of grief, but the stages of good grief. It kind of plays, right? Anyway, watch dipshit Nancy Mace.
I noticed up there one of the accomplishments, things you were touting was the I-5 2016 interchange.
What was the exit at Long Point Road? Yeah, not the interchange, but yeah.
But that funding came from the Inflation Reduction Act, which you voted against.
Right.
Is that an accomplishment? Is that something you can tout?
No, absolutely. I mean, absolutely I can tout that, because we'll often argue over how much money is spent, how much money is wasted, and the vast majority of the funding in that bill was completely wasted, particularly in the infrastructure bill that was $1.2 trillion. We only had $110 billion dedicated to roads and bridges in that particular bill. Of that $110 billion, only $70 billion was for public transit, leaving only like $40 billion for roads and bridges across every state in the country, which is outrageous, right? And South Carolina in the infrastructure bill only got an extra $1 billion over a 5-year period. So we fight over how we spend the money, how we appropriate it. But once the appropriations happen, I'm going to make sure that South Carolina, that we get our fair share, because that money's getting spent, and our tax dollars in South Carolina are equal to anybody else's in California, New York, Tennessee, anywhere else, North Carolina. We deserve that too. So just because we disagree on how the money's spent means we shouldn't get money for our roads and bridges. Isn't that kind of hypocritical? That's ironic.
I think I'm more asking, so you do agree then if you think it's okay for politicians who don't vote for them
federal
to
government,
take credit for...
It's literally our job to make sure that our states get the appropriations that they need when the money is assigned and spent, and grant funding.
Anybody, even when they vote against it.
I vote against almost every spending bill I've ever had before me because of the wasteful spending. This government has spent money on transgender surgeries for kids. It spent money on putting men in women's prisons. We've spent over $26 million at the NIH to castrate mice and test them on a date rape drug. So I, of course, would vote against a bill that did something outrageous like that, but when there's money being appropriated by the federal government, it is literally our job to make sure that we help organizations, government entities, state and local, get those appropriations by supporting them with letters of support. And that's what my office says. That's literally part of the job of being a member of Congress. And maybe you're confused.
Okay.
You're very confused. And you're a raging Democrat, so raging leftist with that kind of questioning. And I would say as a woman, you might want to think about how you view other women and how you treat other women, the way that you question them, because women are going to lead this country off the brink, and conservative women. The first female president of this country is going to be a conservative woman, not some liberal like you.
Okay, again, just a question about the bill, whether you voted for it or not, which we're touting.
This is literally the job of a member of Congress. You might want to look up what a member of Congress does, and maybe read the Constitution next time before asking me such a question.
Okay.
5 times over.
Just looking for clarification in the question.
You clearly need it.
Okay.
Pick up a Constitution and read it.
All right.
Your last question.
You were one of the...
Make it good.
You were one of the...
The only step that I think is missing is abusing the press, abusing the media, abusing the messenger, abusing the questioner. None of those questions were out of line. None of those questions were off limits. None of those questions were gotchas. Those are simple, basic, the most rudimentary of questions that should have been asked. At the basis level, it's, well, you voted against all of that. The Constitution has nothing to do with that. Your job is to vote for legislation or vote against it. But to take credit for something you tried to kill, to take credit for something you voted against, what's that have to do with standing up for women who are in office? Women are going to run this country, and it's going to be conservatives, not liberals like you. Is this the image, the visage of strength that you want to portray to the people of South Carolina, Nance? Is this it? Is this strong? Or is this weakness? Is this mentally weak and morally weak and ethically weak and demonstrating reason in the weakest manner possible? The only thing that there's some strong game going on here is the shark mouth of Nancy. How many teeth are in that mouth? I know we have like 212 bones. She's got to have 300 plus teeth, right? Or are they just all oversized? Nancy Mace is a political cartoon in real life with the distorted proportions. And that's coming from somebody with mighty distorted proportions. It's 6:58 in the morning for me right now, so you'll have to forgive me. Not you, Nancy Mace. You can fuck straight off. Anyway, what do you think? I would solicit your participation in this conversation. I'd love to hear from you if you're from South Carolina. I'd love to hear from you if you're a Republican in South Carolina.
This chart is pretty amazing right here.
Yeah. It's another one of those, what if Biden had done this videos? And they're coming in far more rapid succession than I thought they would, because Donald Trump is deteriorating quicker than I thought he would. From roaming around on the roof of the White House like an inconsolable, demented goof, wandering around the White House, having his nursemaid, Will Scharf, have to explain everything to him. We made a short, kind of a mashup of not all, but many of the times where Donald Trump is signing executive orders and has to explain what this is to the people, Will, or times where he doesn't even have him explain it to the people. He has Will Scharf explain what he's signing, sometimes after he signed it, to him. He's not ready. He's never been ready, but mentally, his acuity is so off that he's just not running the country. He has no interest in running the country. He's more fixated on the ballroom and the flagpoles and whatever he was doing on the roof. He's not paying attention to governance. He's not paying attention to making the lives of Americans better. He set his sights on making things worse for everybody except the uber wealthy friends of his. Yesterday in the Oval Office, he brought in Stephen Moore, who, by the way, it's so strange that for all of Donald Trump's bluster and lies about having I disavow Project 2025. He sure does like to pal around with the authors of Project 2025. And that's who Stephen Moore is. He's an economist, heavy, sticky, icky air quotes here, who also worked for Donald Trump in the first administration. He's just a liar who misdirects and misleads on things that he knows better, just like they're doing here. I'm going to play this first clip before I get to Donald Trump holding up his weird chart silently in the room while no one asks any questions about what he's doing. Will Scharf's not there to explain anything, so we don't know. But Stephen Moore, I just want to introduce this as kind of the tenor for the day, tenor for this moment in time in the Oval Office, where Stephen Moore, one of the authors of Project 2025, standing next to Donald Trump, is telling everybody that they have access to data that no one else has. And they're using it to justify the firing of the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but also to rewrite history that things were so much better off for Americans under Donald Trump than Joe Biden. And again, it's with numbers that they have access to, this data, access to some data that no one else does. Yeah, that sounds super legit, Steve Moore.
Steve, could you say a few words about the various charts?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I called the president because I had some very good news from some new data that we've been able to put together that no one has ever seen before, and I'll just very quickly go through these. So I was telling the president that he did the right thing in calling for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because this shows that over the last 2 years of the Biden administration, the BLS overestimated job creation by 1.5 million jobs. Mr. President, that's a gigantic error. And I don't know if
It might not have been an error, that's the bad part. If it was an error, it would be one thing. I don't think it's an error. I think they did it purposely.
Whether that, you may well be right, but even if it wasn't purposefully, it's incompetence.
Right.
Okay, so 1.5 million jobs overestimated. We have access to the We have access to the some data that no one else does on what has happened month by month with median household income. This is based on unpublished Census Bureau data.
Do you know how unbelievable it is to claim that you have government access to government numbers? You've been granted some secret, super special access to numbers that no one else does. And what a coincidence that these new numbers that no one's ever seen, that you solely have access to, that they happen to support the narrative that Donald Trump wants everyone to believe. What a glorious coincidence. But the absolute best part of this is Donald Trump and his addled wandering. Even he finds time to wander in the small confines of the Oval Office in the White House, where he goes over to the Resolute desk and he's shifting through and sifting through these giant, like, golf lottery check size charts. And he's like, well, this is my favorite one. You got to look at this one. And he lifts it up. He doesn't explain anything because he can't, and because Will Scharf isn't there or wasn't beckoned to explain it. The chart doesn't, none of the axes actually explain which segments of what. It's just a chart. And for him, in his mind, it's a rock solid deal. It's a game changer, this chart. New numbers, he says. Watch this.
Under Trump than Biden, by a wide margin. That's the story.
I think when you look at them, they're all something, but this one chart really says it better than anything. If you look at this is great, but this chart is pretty amazing right here. All new numbers. Okay, so we're going to go now over to East Room, and we're going to celebrate some very brave people with the Purple Hearts. Yeah, please.
This one chart really says it better than anything. Impressive. So impressive, Donald Trump. You notice there was no explanation. Obviously, there was no explanation. It's because he can't explain. He has no ability. He has an inability to explain basic numbers. I mean, I think we're all lucky that it wasn't a chart explaining that he's going to lower drug prices by 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500%. We're all going to be rich, filthy rich, buying our drugs because we're going to be paid to buy them. At what point are people going to start waking up and asking questions about the mental acuity, the cognitive ability of Donald Trump? When? Just wandering around on the roof in the Oval Office. This obsession with charts. I mean, look, this obviously goes back to the first administration. Remember the time, oh man, can I find this clip? Remember the time with the charts when Donald Trump added the little extra section to the hurricane path on his own with the Sharpie, and then hauled out the chart in a similar fashion to this. I'm going to try to find that clip. Hopefully we can get it. Because if I remember, and just, you know, as much as I pour over the compendium of clips of Donald Trump over time, I want to show you that he's diminished. It's the same Donald Trump obsessed with giant weird charts. But there's a difference in how he communicates. There's a difference in how he looks. He's a melting candle right now. He's losing it. We will find it. Here it is, we hope. And I want you to pay attention. If you have to go back to look at what Donald Trump just looked like holding up the giant chart, and then look at this from 2016 or 2017 or 2018, whatever it was, there's a marked a degradation. I was going to say whatever the opposite of improvement is, but I could figure that out with my brain, right? Watch this, the hurricane moment with the Sharpie chart with Donald Trump.
We thought we'd give you a update on the hurricane. We got lucky in Florida, very, very lucky indeed. We had actually, our original chart was that it was going to be hitting Florida directly. Maybe I could just see that, Kevin. It was going to be hitting directly, and that would have affected a lot of other states. But that was the original chart, and you see it was going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia could have, was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected. And it took a right turn.
I mean, come on. Obviously, I found it. I went and looked and found it. That's a different dude. Equally as dangerous, maybe more dangerous now because there's no guardrails in his brain because the brain's going away. But what if Joe Biden, again, let's finish how we started. What if Joe Biden had wandered around and, hey, yeah, no joke. Let me grab this chart. Look at this. And he just turned around to conservatives would be losing their mind. If he was up wandering around on the fucking roof of the White House, people would be losing their minds. And maybe rightly so. They'd be like, this seems like a problem for the president of the United States. It's like he's roaming around in a Dickensian type of novel in his sleeping robe and his weird cap up on the. But Donald Trump operates under different rules. MAGA treats him special and different than anybody else in the political spectrums. Anybody.
I guess in a certain way, it wasn't that easy for me either, when you think of it.
Remember when Joe Biden gave an address in, like, I think it was Philadelphia, and it was like bathed in red light. The imagery was not great. The optics weren't great. I'll be the first to admit. But one of the criticisms that surrounded that event, kind of kicked off by Brianna Keeler from CNN when they were taking their conservative turn in 2022, there was a lot of criticism for Joe Biden for misusing the United States Marines behind him. They shouldn't have been in the frame. He shouldn't be using those Marines. He should respect the troops. Oh, all the troops are heroes. Our military they're all heroes. Everyone who's ever donned the uniform. All of that is bullshit. Not everybody's I'm not a hero, and I was in the Marine Corps for many years. Most of the people I served with weren't heroes. It takes a moment to make a hero, not just putting on the uniform. There's nothing heroic about that. But there is something heroic about going into combat, getting wounded, and then being awarded the Purple Heart. The run through here, the through line of what I'm talking about is the fact that all this criticism was levied against Joe Biden for disrespecting the Marines behind him. And where's the media uproar about what took place yesterday? There's a few who are out there complaining about this or pointing it out at the very least. But what Donald Trump did yesterday in it's a repeat of what he's done over the past several years, like almost 10 years now. It's 2025. The first clip, the second clip I'm going to show you is from 2016 of Donald Trump just disrespecting the award of the Purple Heart, the people who were awarded the Purple Heart, but also it gives you a glimpse into the early days of the cult that was starting to form around Donald Trump, where people would give him. Multiple people have given Donald Trump their Medal of Honor, their Purple Heart, something that was awarded to them for injury during combat, something Donald Trump furiously, in a conspiratorial manner, I mean, not a conspiracy theory, but like in a conspiracy, he conspired against the government to not serve his country. Multiple times evaded the draft because of the sore feet. I would love to serve my country, but man, those pesky bone spurs, which I also have, by the way, and have for many, many years. It did not prevent me from service in the United States Marine Corps. But this is what took place at the ceremony yesterday. And I want to I left this first part on. The Associated Press put this little mashup together. And I left this first part on where he's signing the thing and then he's explaining what the Medal of Honor is, because he can't get out of not understanding exactly the solemnity that surrounds this particular award. You don't earn the Medal of, I keep saying the Medal of Honor. You don't earn a Purple Heart, just like the Medal of Honor, the Navy Cross, or the Army Cross. You don't earn it. It's awarded to you. It's a difference, a subtle difference, but it's a difference. And Donald Trump keeps talking about how it was really hard for him to get this award too, just spitting in the face of those who have been awarded. Like, oh, it was really hard for me too to get it, you guys, to have it given to you. Oh. And then I'm going to go back to 2016 where the guy first gave it. And then I'm going to go back to last year when a guy gave it to him, his own, and said, I could think of no one who deserves it more. It's all, you're going to witness the formation of the cult in real time. But first, let's start with what happened yesterday.
And we're here to honor and celebrate the unyielding patriotism and grit and devotion to America's Purple Heart veterans is great emotion and great love. The Purple Heart dates back to August 7th, 1782. That's a long time, when General George Washington awarded a heart-shaped purple cloth to 3 soldiers for outstanding gallantry and service in battle. This afternoon, we're joined by dozens of Purple Heart recipients and their families, and just as General Washington did 243 years ago, today we give our everlasting thanks to you and your unbelievable families. We want to thank you very much for being here. It's my great honor. Last year, after an assassin tried to take my life in Butler, Pennsylvania, Thomas generously mailed me one of his Purple Hearts. Many of the other veterans showed me the same unbelievable gesture of kindness, including 3-time Purple Heart recipient John Ford and Gerald Enter Jr., who also came along with us and did us a great, great favor. Gerald, John, and Thomas, I want to thank you very much. What a great honor to get those Purple Hearts. I guess in a certain way it wasn't that easy for me either, when you think of it, but
I guess in a certain way, it wasn't really that easy for me either. In what way was it not easy for you to be handed the award of a Purple Heart from someone who actually got the medal? How was it not easy for you? In what world, in what reality, in what twisted, warped sense of anything honorable whatsoever, you draft-dodging coward, you physical, moral, ethical weakling? And this has been a feature of his personality for decades and decades. When he talked about his personal Vietnam was avoiding sexually transmitted disease during Vietnam, because he wasn't in the war. He wasn't in Vietnam. He wasn't in uniform. He was out there gallivanting in Manhattan, banging the ladies, I guess. This is from 2016. This is from August of 2016. I believe this is the first time, and this is the initial, maybe the seminal moment in the formation of the cult that now surrounds Donald Trump. Watch this and listen to how Donald Trump disregards the achievement, the what it took to be awarded this honor.
You know, something very nice just happened to me. A man came up to me and he handed me his Purple Heart. Now I said to him, is that like the real one or is that a copy? And he said, that's my real Purple Heart. I have such confidence in you. And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier, he says smugly, like a moron. Also, as an aside, it's not the point here, but look at the differences between Donald Trump and how he comports himself, how he's diminished in that time. Greatly diminished over time. A lot of the same ideas are still there because that is rooted, that is foundational in him. But this has happened multiple times. On the campaign trail last year, a guy gave him a Purple Heart, awarded Donald Trump his Purple Heart, while saying that he could have thought of no one more deserving than Donald Trump.
Mr. President, we actually have someone that, and before we ask his question, I wanted to read this to the crowd. He had actually written a letter to you after you'd been shot in Pennsylvania. Dear President Trump, watching you during the Butler rally and you getting back up, both my wife and I gave a sigh of relief as well as a few tears. I would be honored if you would accept this small token that I received as a young Marine in Vietnam. My wife and I both thought it appropriate. God bless you, your family, and the United States of America. Sincerely, Dwight. Dwight, where are you at?
Thank you. Whoa. Looks like a check. It's a check. It's cash.
For those of you who may not know, Dwight had given President Trump his Purple Heart.
That's right. That's right.
I couldn't think anybody more deserving of a Purple Heart.
Thank you very much.
I can think of a few people more deserving than Donald Trump of a Purple Heart. Many, hundreds, thousands of people more deserving of a Purple Heart than a man who evaded the draft, dodged service in the United States military. Look, it's not even that if that everyone should be drafted, that everybody should serve. I don't believe that. I don't believe it should be compulsory. I don't. But you don't get to be the guy who acts like you're the most military person. That's something he said over and over. I'm the most military. I'm the most militaristic person. Except you didn't serve. You evaded when the call came. Your number came up. And you avoided military service because you were a rich brat with a silver spoon shoved into your ass. So you don't get it both ways. You don't get to be this wild, mighty, steely-eyed warrior, this patriot of all patriots, while also evading military service. And this is the case with so many, your Ted Cruz's, your Josh Hawley's, all of these smooth-skinned, callous-free Ivy Leaguers. Donald Trump's just another one. And look, not all Ivy Leaguers, I don't have to go through all the things to cover for every single segment. Obviously, there are Ivy League people who served in the military. Lucas Kuntz tried to run for Josh Hawley's seat. Didn't win. There's lots. But there are also, the Republican Party is replete with these patriots who act like nobody's more patriotic than me. I am I'm the embodiment of an eagle. Yet didn't serve. It's the same hypocrisy that I talk about with the Constitution, them yanking their little pocket Constitution out of their pockets while they violate it in the same breath. Anyway, what do you think? Are you with me? Do you see the pattern here? What do you think if you served? If you, look, I don't have a Purple Heart. If you have one, I'd love to hear from you. Whether you agree or disagree, you can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Make sure you're subscribed, you share, like, comment on this video, do all the things that please our algorithmic gods. I don't know why I was like tickling the algorithmic gods. Yeah.
The owner of Trump Burger restaurants now faces deportation.
Yikes! Have you seen this story? This is wild. Trump Burger owner faces potential deportation due to alleged immigration fraud. Department of Homeland Security confirms. I saw this headline, I've seen this floating around on the internet, and I got to looking into it, and man, I got a lot here. I'm not going to bore you with all of the sordid details, but let me tell you, it involves lawsuits. It involves claims with evictions that they couldn't find the guy, apparently. And in this exhibit, in this sworn court exhibit that they submitted to the court, it says, we have been notified that Roland Bainey, I don't know how to say this guy's last name, is currently detained by ICE and his green card has been revoked. He is no longer recognized as a leaseholder or authorized representative of Trump Burger LLC. So look, there's a whole bunch here, and I want to talk about it, but let's generally just talk about what Trump Burger is in the first place. And also, I don't want to bury the lead here. This might not be a straight up immigration case. He might be getting kicked out of the country because he violated Donald Trump's trademark. He has been sent cease and desist letters from the Trump organization to change the name of his restaurant, to stop trading on Donald Trump's name and likeness in his restaurant, because he might confuse people that think that this restaurant is actually attached to or associated with the Trump organization. So I don't know, but he might be being kicked out. He might be being deported because of his refusal to abide by those cease and desist letters. But the overarching thing here, I mean, other than the weirdness of the culty Trump Burger, I mean, this is just like somebody puked up a Trump flag and it decorated in the space of a restaurant. It's very weird. The other element here is that there is a certain type of person, maybe. Certainly MAGA warps people's minds to think like this, that hypocrisy is A-okay, that there are rules that you must follow as an immigrant to this country, but I support Donald Trump, so I can do whatever I want. They emulate, they imitate, they replicate the attitudes and the ideas and the lifestyle of Donald Trump, that no rules apply to him, but they apply to all of you. I'll tell you what, here's a clip, here's a brief clip, fewer than 60 seconds, less than a minute, from the Channel 11, KHOU in Houston, doing a brief report about it to give you some background.
New tonight, KHOU 11 confirming the owner of Trump Burger Restaurants, which has several locations in the Houston area, has been arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and now faces deportation. ICE says Roland Biani, a 28-year-old from Lebanon, overstayed his visa after entering the U.S. back in 2019. He was taken into custody in May and is now out on bond as he awaits immigration proceedings. In a statement sent to KHOU 11, an ICE spokesperson told us, quote, "Under the current administration, ICE is committed to restore integrity to our nation's immigration system by holding all individuals accountable who illegally enter the country or overstay the terms of their admission. This is true regardless of what restaurant you own or political beliefs you may have."
Now, the reason that this smacks to me of retribution against this person, one, if you're a Trump supporter, I really find it difficult to reach deep within myself and find empathy for you, because this is what you voted for. Donald Trump campaigned on mass deportation. Why would anybody think they would be special? They would be immune from the ramifications of Donald Trump's racist ideas to make a white ethno-state. Why does this Trump Burger owner from Lebanon believe that he would be special? It's the same thing you see with the Cubans in Miami who supported Donald Trump, the Venezuelans in Miami who supported Donald Trump, and now their families are being rounded up and sent to undisclosed locations before deportation. And they cry, "Oh, this is what we thought it would be different." Yeah, no one else thought it would be different. This is exactly what we thought it would be. But the reason that I think that it might be more retribution is this. This is one, a couple of things from the landlord who's explaining that this is not political at all. And then it gets into the Trump brand issues. The landlord says, Patterson, the landlord, Patterson has since leased the Kemah, it's a Texas area. Like Bexar County looks like Bexar County. So I'm probably mispronouncing this. Somebody from Texas, correct me in the comments. The Kemah property to another tenant, has leased this property to another tenant who has renamed it MAGA Burger. Apparently that doesn't cause any problems. That's probably a good idea, because lawyers for President Trump's private business, the Trump Organization, sent Trump Burger of Belleville a cease and desist on February 3rd. And this begins the saga. This begins a very possible reason that Donald Trump is having this person deported, uprooting this person's life because he has crossed the Trump Organization. The letter stated, quote, "We were surprised to learn that you have been flagrantly infringing upon the Trump Organization's valuable and well-established intellectual property right by operating at least 3 restaurants under the Trump name and brand." The letter included a reference to the Trump Burger location in Flatonia. Quote, "This use risks misleading the public into falsely believing that your business is affiliated with the Trump Organization or endorsed by our clients," the letter went on to say. The letter demanded that the business stop using the Trump name, brand, and trademarks, and to remove all references to the Trump name in all websites, social media, marketing, and communication materials. It also demanded a full accounting of all revenues generated directly or indirectly from your unlawful use of the Trump name, brand, or trademark. The letter concluded by saying the Trump Organization would pursue legal action if no action was taken. Well, it appears as though they most certainly took legal action, very possibly using the weight and force and width and breadth of the United States government and our immigration mechanisms to deport, to just remove the guy from the country, a Trump supporter. So again, I'll say this, it's not going to save you. First, let's have the message be to the media and complicit Democrats who continue to vote for Donald Trump's nominees and his legislation to advance his agenda. It's not going to save you. To the media, to Jake Tapper, kissing Donald Trump's ass by writing books, defamatory books about Joe Biden, it's not going to save you, brother. Donald Trump, he's going to come for everybody eventually. He will sell his own family down the river. Do they get sold down the river? Well, he's getting sold. Yeah, I think that's probably a slave trade term that I probably shouldn't use now that I'm thinking about it, doing the math in my head. Donald Trump is not going to spare his wrath, his ire for anyone. He's coming for all of us. MAGA, non-MAGA, opponent, ally, it doesn't matter. Because his bloodlust will not be satiated. And this, look, I don't know. I would solicit opinions from you in the audience here about what is going on here. Obviously, it's possible that this is the case, but is it probable? Is it likely that that's what's happening here? Because these letters were not answered. That he did not change the name. He did not change the decor. And now he's being kicked out of the country. Don't know. Don't really care. Other than the fact that this is not how our government should operate, and no one should be punished by the federal government. Even MAGA morons, even members of the cult shouldn't be subjected to this. It's not how law works. It's not how justice works. The system should work the same for everyone across the board, whether you're in the cult or whether you're an opponent of the cult.
We don't follow the woke lemmings off the cliff that want to tear down statues. We look at and learn from our history, all aspects of it.
It just gets worse and worse with these people. We have right now running the government of the United States the most brazen group of hypocrites and liars that have ever been amassed in a cabinet. Pete Hegseth he's a white nationalist troll, a know-nothing, just an absolute unqualified dolt running the Department of Defense, which apparently they're thinking about changing the name from Department of Defense to Department of War. He would be the Secretary of War. We'll get to that. But in this clip, we're going to talk about a Confederate statue that was removed from the grounds, the hallowed, sacred grounds of Arlington National Cemetery, for obvious reasons. Civil War dead are buried there. Fallen warriors, soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines are buried there. Heroes of the Republic are buried there, and they want to return, they have returned a monument celebrating the Confederacy, the enemy of the United States, a hostile insurrectionist force that attempted to overthrow the United States government, to secede from the Union, and with it killed untold numbers. I don't know the number off the top of my head. Hundreds of thousands of Americans. And Pete Hegseth, in this clip I'm getting ready to show you, openly admits he's proud of slavery. He's proud of the Confederacy. He has pride in those things. Now, he couches it as history. He's proud of our history. We're not going to erase our history. Of course, we're not going to erase our history, drunken dipshit. But to be proud of slavery, to be proud of every aspect of our history, is psychopathic. It's sociopathy, Pete Hegseth. Watch this. Watch him declare his love for slavery while saying we're not going to erase our history, while erasing our history, erasing the contributions of specifically Black Americans, literally erasing photographic evidence of their contributions in the military and elsewhere. Watch this.
The Reconciliation Monument. It has been returned to Arlington National Cemetery following its removal in 2023. This is a Confederate monument. Many suggest it was designed and put in place to symbolize the reconciliation after the Civil War. It was taken away, as I mentioned, several years ago. Why was it important for you to bring that back to Arlington National Cemetery?
Because we recognize our history. We don't erase it, Will. We don't follow the woke lemmings off the cliff that want to tear down statues. We look at and learn from our history, all aspects of it. And so Arlington deserves to have, and we're grateful to the state of Virginia for partnering with us. It wasn't easy. We fought to make it happen. And the Reconciliation Monument will return to Arlington where it belongs, to recognize the service of Americans of all chapters. So we're not tearing stuff down. We're done with that. We're putting statues back. We're putting paintings back. We're recognizing our history. We're restoring the names of bases as we've done across the country, because we're proud of our history. As difficult as it may have been in some chapters, we're going to teach it, we're going to live it, and we're going to fight for it.
It takes a special kind of dipshit, a special kind of manipulative liar, to stand there and say, we recognize our history, we don't erase it, while literally being at the helm of a movement to erase history, to rewrite history, to erase photographic evidence. They've deleted from the internet thousands and thousands of pictures of Black contributions to our history, both military and general. The contributions of women, of LGBTQ people, they are systematically attempting to erase, while saying, we don't erase our history. We're proud of our history. He's proud of the Confederacy. So proud that this is the monument. I'm going to read one paragraph from the Washington Post and show you a photo. This is the headline from the Washington Post. This is what he's proud of. Confederate memorial will be returned to Arlington Cemetery, Hegseth says. The memorial was removed in 2023 at the recommendation of a commission appointed by Congress to rid the military of Confederate symbols and names. And why would we want our United States military bases to not be filled to the brim, both in name and also in tchotchke, like these statues, with honoring Confederates, honoring the enemy, honoring the killers of Americans? I guess only if you're a traitor to the Republic, you want that. This is the paragraph, and I'll show you a photo. The 32-foot bronze statue commissioned by the United Daughters of the Confederacy, largely responsible for the Lost Cause myth and a bunch of other conspiracies and rewriting of history, the Daughters of the Confederacy, was unveiled at a ceremony presided over by President Woodrow Wilson in 1914. Woodrow Wilson, a famous white supremacist and racist, almost 50 years after the Civil War ended. Its supporters said it was dedicated in part to promote reconciliation between the North and the South, but critics said the memorial glorified the Southern cause and glossed over slavery with elements such as a frieze showing an enslaved black man following his owner and an enslaved woman described on the cemetery's website as a mammy holding the baby of a Confederate officer. This is that. You can see the Confederate officer holding his baby. An enslaved woman is depicted as a mammy on the Confederate memorial. This is the history Pete Hegseth is proud of. And now, because he's so passionate about our history and the continuation of things as they are, they're talking about, they're floating, changing the name of the entire Department of Defense to Department of War, like it used to be back in the 1700s when we first started the country. I don't remember exactly when, whether it was World War I or later that we changed the name, but for nearly 100 years, it has been the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense. Watch Will Cain, another do-nothing moron, interview this do-nothing moron about the change of the name.
Did I just hear you say, by the way, is that something we should expect? Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War?
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. So we'll be prepared. Stand by. There might be some news on that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for teaching me what a knife hand is. It's a great way to make a point. I've got to work on that. People say I do weird things with my hands. Now,
it's so hard to take these people seriously. He says, our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what we will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. Yeah, bruh. His job is to ensure that the enemies of the United States know exactly what we will do with them if they threaten us. Apparently, what Pete Hegseth is going to do with our enemies if they threaten us is erect statues to them and protect those statues, because that's what he's doing. The Confederacy were not allies. They were enemies of this republic. They were enemies of America. They were traitors to this country, all in an effort to preserve the institution of owning human beings as property. The systematic abuse, rape, murder, torture, forced birth, a horrific chapter in American history that no one who's decent is proud of. Unless, like I said, no one decent, unless you're Pete Hegseth. Anyway, what do you think? I always get a lot of shit when I talk about Confederacy because people in the South truly believe it's their heritage. It's not hate. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And if that offends you, there's other YouTube channels. There's plenty of other YouTube channels who don't talk about the real issues that I talk about, and you can go elsewhere. So I will watch my subscriber count diminish proudly and happily because I tell the truth, and I'm not going to cow to people who have some romantic love affair with chattel slavery and the killing of American troops. Sorry, not sorry.
You guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo.
This story absolutely encapsulates where we are with a second Trump term. There's a man named Jared Wise, who is now a senior advisor for the United States Department of Justice, working for Pam Bondi, working for Donald Trump. The same Jared Wise who didn't get a chance to go to trial for what he was charged with for being at the insurrection that day, threatening to kill cops, chanting, kill them, while himself being an FBI agent, I guess, working in some capacity for the federal government, being law enforcement at the very least. He was pardoned by Donald Trump. And now he works for the Department of Justice as a special advisor, a senior level advisor in the Justice Department. They are not only trying to erase the history of the attempted overthrow of the United States government in the violent insurrection against the country, the attempted keeping Donald Trump in office extra democratically, extra constitutionally, by overturning a free and fair American election. They're trying to erase the history of it, which cannot be erased. We will never forget. No matter what they do, the history books will not reflect their narrative unless we lose everything. This is an NPR headline. Video shows Department of Justice official urging January 6 rioters to, quote unquote, kill cops. Now, I'm going to play this, but I have 2 paragraphs I want to read for you, just to give you a flavor for what we're talking about here, to give you a little background. Less than 5 years after urging rioters to kill police at the Capitol, a former January 6 defendant is working as a senior advisor for the Justice Department, which has been dramatically remade under the second Trump administration. NPR has obtained police body cam footage from multiple angles of the former defendant and current administration official, Jared Wise, berating officers and calling them Nazi and Gestapo. NPR located the footage, which has not been previously published, in a review of thousands of court exhibits from January 6 criminal cases obtained through legal action by a coalition of media organizations. The Department of Justice had introduced the footage as an exhibit in Wise's trial. NPR also obtained the transcript of Wise's testimony, which I'm going to read here. I'm going to read from that transcript to give you an idea of who this character is and how he comported himself in trial before he was able to be convicted, before Donald Trump pardoned him unconditionally for his threatening to kill police and the violence on that day, in which he acknowledged that he repeatedly yelled, "Kill him," as officers were being attacked, and tried to explain his actions. Wise was not convicted of any crimes related to January 6th due to President Trump's order to end all Capitol riot prosecutions. A Department of Justice spokesperson said in a statement, "Jared Wise is a valued member of the Justice Department, and we appreciate his contributions to our team." This is the person they are glad to share space with. This is the person who's a valued member of the Department of Justice team, whose contributions are so appreciated. Watch this from January 6th, 2021, the day we almost lost our democracy because of the insurrection against the country.
You guys are disgusting, man. You guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it because you're chasing your pension, right? Your pension, your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement.
The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Yeah! Fuck that! Yeah!
That is the person who's a valuable member of the Department of Justice's team, threatening, screaming vile insults at federal employees, Capitol Police, and there are also Metropolitan Police Department officers there too, chanting for the crowd to murder them. He denies, "I don't want anybody to die," in his testimony, of course, because, those two things are congruent. I didn't want anybody to die. I was just screaming, "Kill them, kill them." Yeah, it makes total sense. I guess if you're in the Trump cult, it makes sense. This is some from the testimony. On the witness stand, according to the trial transcript, Wise acknowledged entering the Capitol building and tried to explain why he called the police Nazis and Gestapo and said, "Kill them," as other rioters assaulted officers. He testified that he was responding to what he viewed as police brutality and acting out of anger. Those are terrible things to say. Of course, I shouldn't say those things, Wise testified. I think I was careless and used terrible words when I was angry. He said the terms Nazi and Gestapo came to mind because of law enforcement training he received from the Anti-Defamation League and past visits to Holocaust museums. Yeah, whenever I visit the Holocaust Museum here in Washington, D.C., I'm left screaming for cops to be murdered while they protect the United States Capitol. Every single time. I don't know about you. Me and Jared Wise, we must be just special. A federal prosecutor pressed Wise about his rants against police. Quote, "You yelled, 'Shame on you, shame on you,' Assistant U.S. Attorney Taylor Fonten asked. I did, Wise replied. And you meant it or you wouldn't have said it, right? Fonten asked. I assume, yes, Wise said. And you meant kill him, kill him, kill him, get him, right? Fonten asked. No, Wise said. I think I was just an angry reaction. It was just an angry reaction. Okay, so you meant it 10 seconds before and then all of a sudden you didn't mean it, right? Fonten said. No, Wise testified. I don't think I meant kill him. I don't want people to die. While on trial, under oath, he says with credulity, expecting us to believe that with that face that you watched in that clip, with that venom and that vitriol and that hatred, driven by conspiracy theories that Donald Trump won the election, he wanted his fellow rioters, his fellow insurrectionists to kill police officers, while saying with his mouth he was in law enforcement. This encapsulates everything you need to know about the second term of Donald Trump. They are placing in the highest levels of our government dangerous rebels and insurrectionists against the republic. People who were willing to watch law enforcement guarding our Capitol die at the hands of his compatriots. This is it. And Donald Trump emboldened them by pardoning them. He emboldened them psychically by giving them aid and comfort. Aid and comfort delivered to our enemies. Seditious conspiracy were some of the charges. Anyway, it's a tough note to end the day on. I'd love to know what you think. You can click below. Leave a comment on this video wherever you see it. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, the old-fashioned way, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. What am I missing here? Is there nuance that I'm not addressing? I'm okay with dissent. Let me know. If you want to help support this work, I would appreciate it very much. You can click below this video on YouTube and become a channel member, or you can direct your browser over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support with $2 a month there. Every little bit goes a long way. If I'm able to marshal the size of my audience and everyone, or 2% of people were to give $2 a month, $1.99 a month, we could radically and fundamentally change and grow this operation into something absolutely untouchable, or at least less touchable, by Donald Trump and the forces that want to destroy the truth. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.